There's a lot of talk of impeachment going around, but I don't think Nancy Pelosi is going to go along with it. However, should our president be impeached? You can't impeach him for incompetence, although it's a political thing. I guess you could impeach for any reason, but I would like to make a real one. Remember, the Ukraine, that was all about the timing of military aid to Ukraine and the request of the Ukraine to purchase some Javelin defense missiles, $391 million. Well, we've just handed the Taliban, not an ally, $10 billion. $10 billion. During Trump's impeachment trial, the left said that Trump delaying military aid to Ukraine was cruel and dangerous to American national security. Well, what about the problems that have now been caused by President Biden that have directly led to Taliban controlling billions of dollars of the highest tech we have? Based on harm to the United States over the last 2 weeks alone, the damage done to the relationship and the trust with our allies, the outrageous waste and fleecing of American taxpayers, giving the Taliban a list of names of U.S. citizens and Afghani allies, not to mention the loss of American lives last Thursday. Which is more impeachable? One phone call by the president or President Biden's Afghanistan meltdown? This is why congressional Democrats should have checked themselves before they wrecked themselves, lowering the impeachment bar so far, because Biden is soaring over that bar now. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is with us now. She is the congressman from Colorado. She's calling on Biden to resign and calling for impeachment proceedings to begin. Congresswoman, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Glenn. It's wonderful to be on with you today. And I really do just want to stop and thank you and your listeners. And thank you to Kenneth Copeland Ministries and the Nazarene Fund. What y'all did actually going to Afghanistan and rescuing over 5,000 endangered Christians is nothing but miraculous.
Well, thank you.
That's the American spirit right there, and that's American exceptionalism, and that's the kindness and charity that we've been called to as Christians. So Thank you.
Thank you. That is, it's an exceptional audience. This audience is incredible, just incredible. I think the best in the nation, perhaps ever assembled on radio. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about your call for impeachment. What are you basing it on?
Well, there's certainly a lot that Joe Biden has done as a dereliction of duty. He has not fulfilled his oath of office as president of the United States and commander in chief. I saw what you had to say while you were over there, and look, you're absolutely right. There has been no leadership on this issue, no leadership in protecting endangered Americans, endangered Christians, no leadership in protecting our troops or our equipment, and no accountability even for now the Taliban, who's flying our Black Hawk helicopters with seemingly public hangings from them.
Yes.
No leadership is getting our citizens out. And I'm sure your listeners have heard that the last U.S. flight left Kabul yesterday, and many Americans are still stranded in Afghanistan. That is unacceptable, and that is infuriating. Where is the accountability? So far, there's only been one resignation because of this mess, and it came from Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, who resigned because he could no longer serve in a military run by such buffoons. And look at the track record of our so-called commander-in-chief and his regime. $85 billion in state-of-the-art military equipment has been handed over to terrorists. This so-called commander-in-chief has been taking orders from terrorists. They stranded Americans with no way to get home. They took orders from the Taliban and directed our soldiers to clean the airport for these killers, and they allowed 13 of our brave men and women to be killed. Joe Biden needs to be resigned. He needs to resign. He needs to be removed. His military advisors, who've shown that they are more focused on wokeness than winning, need to resign. And if Joe Biden refuses to do that, then all options are on the table. That could mean the 25th Amendment, and he could go home and take his nap and eat his applesauce, or that very well could mean impeachment. And my office is working on that exactly. The incompetence of this regime is a national security threat, and myself and many members of the House Freedom Caucus are going to take a stand.
I'm glad to hear you say that. What are the odds with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in charge? What are the odds that you could actually move this forward?
Glenn, I am calling on just a handful of Democrats to take a stand against the Speaker of the House. I am in Washington, D.C. right now, demanding that members come back to Washington. If we can be called back into session from our recess to start the process of spending trillions and trillions of dollars unnecessarily, we certainly can be called back into session for this. I need Democrats to take a stand and show that they are not under the complete control of Speaker Pelosi. We have to put pressure on them. We have to put pressure on Republicans right now. I see primaries in the future of any Republican who does not call for action right now. The American people want something done. They are tired of politicians just talking about what needs to happen. They need action behind those words, and we have to be the ones who are doing it. And that's why I'm in Washington, D.C. right now saying it is worth being here to stop this madness and hold this regime accountable.
So what can my audience do to help you?
Everyone needs to be putting pressure on their members of Congress. We need the Congress to come together. We always hear about Democrats saying the Republicans won't work for them. Well, this is their opportunity to work with us, to make sure that America remains an exceptional nation, remains a free nation, remains the strongest military force in the world, who doesn't just give over their equipment to terrorists, to their enemies, and fund the opposite side of a war. We need them to come together with us and say there has to be accountability. Now think about it, Glenn. When our servicemen and women leave equipment behind, whether that's night vision goggles or any piece of equipment that they have in their possession, they are held personally liable, whether that's monetarily or they are demoted and they have a lesser rank. What is happening to Miley right now? What is happening to Austin right now? Where is the accountability for all of the $85 billion in equipment that has been left behind? I need just a handful of Democrats to step up and say, we are not going to stand for this. If they can impeach President Trump over a perfect phone call and a perfect speech, certainly they can take a stand against this and show that they still have some dignity for this nation.
I will tell you that, if we had Marines, soldiers, airmen, that were as brave as one was last week, if we had one of those per day, that would mount quickly. It wouldn't take more than 20 that had real sets on them and was willing to walk away. And I know the American people would take care of those people. And if they would just walk away and say, I can't do this because the upper brass has defiled and disgraced everything we stand for. If just 20 people would do it at once a day, one person a day, it would start to add up. But you've got just one guy, and it made a big splash. But it's not going to change anything. One guy alone won't change. He can inspire others, but where are the others?
I certainly hope that Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller is inspiring others to do the same.
Too.
And I want him and others to know that we have their back. I have legislation that is being drafted in my office to reinstate his benefits, so he does not lose that from the time that he served our country. And so I want other people to know we absolutely have your back, and we can certainly get this started while Republicans are in the minority, but we will have the majority in 2022. And there will be a day of reckoning. So all of these people who are worried about taking a stand right now, know that we have you.
Let me ask you one last question. Have you thought about Kamala Harris as president? Does it get any better?
So, of course, that is the number one question. When you start thinking about impeachment and discussing that, you start going down the list. Well, do we really want President Harris? Do we really want President Pelosi? She certainly has shown what she does with the People's House here in Washington, D.C. I can imagine what she would do with the White House. So I have legislation that will be introduced in impeaching both Biden and Harris, and Nancy Pelosi can follow them out the freaking door. She certainly needs to be held accountable for this as well. And we have called, as the Freedom Caucus, we have called on Leader McCarthy to introduce a resolution to vacate the chair.
Holy cow. Has that been done before?
I don't know if that's actually been done, but this is something that we are pursuing because this is serious. This is a national security threat at this point to have this kind of leadership in America. And so everyone needs to be held accountable. We're not just stopping with sleepy, sluggish Joe. We're going down to absent Harris and Pelosi as well. We absolutely need to vacate the chair. Think about it, Glenn. Nancy Pelosi would not be Speaker of the House right now if she hadn't built a plexiglass penalty box for COVID-positive members of Congress to vote her in as Speaker of the House. They only have a 5-person majority right now, and she built a box in the House chambers so COVID-positive members can come into this building with COVID and vote for her as Speaker of the House. She has a very slim majority, and she needs to be removed as Speaker. She needs to be removed from the chair, and we need to have actual leadership in place here.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to stand. I loved it. I mean, you still own the bar, right?
Yeah, so in my restaurant in Rifle,
restaurant.
Yes,
Yeah,
Shooter's
sorry.
Grill. Yes.
Yeah, Shooter's Grill. I loved you when you first came out, and I love the fact that you are still as spirited as you were then. Thank you for keeping an eye on them. Let us know when we can help. Thank you so much.